we talked about it. You answered, of course, a lot of questions, and I think I've never heard you say Bhagavan's famous Brahmastra. You call it that one?
Yeah,
Who's the one who was asking that?
Yeah.
Is it something you do deliberately, or you don't even think about that? Or
I certainly don't do it deliberately. I do say, I think sometimes I talk about Bhagavan's Brahmastra, but when I mean, that ultimately is the question. But when people are trying to understand, that is, many people, when they came to Bhagavan and he used that Brahmastra, they couldn't understand why he was saying that. So I'm trying to explain what Bhagavan's teachings are. So it's in a sense, it's not for me to say like that. It's for me to try to understand why Bhagavan said like that. But ultimately, the only answer to all questions ultimately is to know the truth of ourself.
Yeah. Well, it sometimes just helps me. I sometimes have questions, but then I remind myself it's not about the questions, it's about the questioner.
Yeah, exactly.
And that kind of, then the question evaporates.
Yeah.
Do you still have questions?
Hmm?
Do you still have questions? This is a very personal question. We're not going to sound either. I'm just,
I mean, I do, but particularly, for example, when I'm translating, I have to think about it, why it is said like this in this way. But somehow it seems clear to me that Bhagavan has answered all questions, but if not explicitly, implicitly, all questions are answered in Bhagavan's own original writings. So I can't say I've understood everything, but when I think about it, I'm able to. Sometimes I myself wonder how I'm able to so easily answer all the questions that people ask me. It's just because I can see the answers are already given by Bhagavan.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm doing, I'm pointing out what Bhagavan has said, or the implication of what he has said. Because that's one thing about, that is when we read Bhagavan's original writings, there's the meaning.
Yeah.
But there's also, underneath that meaning, there's so much implication. And it's in the implication that the real answers lie.
Yeah.
If we understand the implication of Bhagavan's teaching, then all questions are answered.
Yeah. Because the implication is, of course, the same as the practice. Practical part.
Yeah, exactly.
Because a lot of people
all his teaching ultimately are pointing up this practice, and pointing us towards this practice.
No, because a lot of people say beautiful spiritual phrases, but how do you practice it in daily life? Of course, if that's what you believe.
Yeah. Do we have the freedom?
Yes, that's what I want to ask.
Do we have the freedom to, sorry, what was it?
Well, to discern or choose between the truth and I would in my own language say the lie. That we are the body. That is the only freedom that we in essence have.
Yeah. But that, to discern that, we need purity of mind, clarity, inner clarity.
Yeah.
That comes with practice, so we can't say we can just decide, okay, I want to be able to discern it.
No, of course.
We have to work, we have the freedom to work towards gaining that clarity that is required to discern that. Is that clear?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the proper use of our freedom.
Yes, but it's still oriented to to the truth, to the reality.
Yeah. In some books it's recorded that Bhagavan said the only freedom you have is to turn within.
Well,
but
that's actually an equivalent of what I'm trying to say.
But that's not the only freedom we have. If you've got the freedom to turn within, you've also got the freedom to turn outside. What Bhagavan meant there is the only correct use of your freedom is to turn within.
Well, you could perhaps also listen to it as what is that which turns outside? That's ego.
Yeah.
And that in itself is illusion.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and in essence, not
Yeah.
truth, of
Yeah.
course, from the
Yeah.
perspective
Yeah.
from reality.
Yeah.
So, for reasoning from that,
Yeah.
you could also read it as that Bhagavan is actually saying the only freedom you have,
Yeah.
real freedom,
Yeah.
because the other thing that thinks it's free doesn't exist at all,
Yeah.
radically seen.
Yeah. But what is the term within is that same non-existent ego.
Sorry, what is?
But what is the term within is that same non-existent ego.
Yeah.
Because there's neither within nor without. There's neither within nor without.
In the end, yeah.
Yeah, but that is paramarthika. We can't we shouldn't mix up these different levels.
Mm-hmm.
What Sadhuam brings out very nicely in the Karma chapter in the Path of Sri Ramana is that our very nature is infinite freedom. Our real nature is infinite freedom. And so though when we rise as ego, we impose limitations on ourselves, but we can never completely deny we cannot completely we can obscure and distort our real nature, but we cannot completely do away with our real nature.
No, because the base will also always be there.
So when we rise as ego, we still are free, but our freedom is limited by the limitation that we've imposed upon ourselves as ego.
Mm-hmm.
So we are basically, this is a journey back to rediscovering the infinite freedom that we actually are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as Bhagavan then explains, or how you translate it, was it verse 19 of Uladana Padu? We have the freedom to try and the freedom to want and to will.
Yeah.
But what actually happens is another domain, is prarabdha.
Yeah.
Well, for me somehow it helps to kind of focus it on, I have the freedom to, it helps me to see everything that happens as prarabdha. Because it helps surrendering. Not worrying or,
we need not be concerned about our external life because it's already predetermined.
Well, it's of course at moments difficult.
It's difficult, but that is the.
But in the end, easier than fighting it.
Yeah.
But for me, it helps to just focus on, I can choose between the truth or between the lie.
Yeah. That means between being and doing.
Yes, for example, that's another way. Or reality and unreality. But being and doing makes it very, very simple, of course.
Yeah.
How do you distinguish between someone talking about a jhara in a proper manner versus someone who's just saying you don't have free will, so there's nothing to do? Like there is a way of expressing that from an ajata level, which is not a teaching, but how do you distinguish that between like a lower level and between the proper highest level?
That is, we are told that ajata is the ultimate truth, but we cannot apply that that's inapplicable to ego. If we want to experience ajata, what is the first thing to rise?
Ego.
It is ego. So long as we rise as ego, that seems to contradict the truth of ajata. So if we want to restore ourselves to our true state, which is ajata, we have to stop the rising of ego. So for all practical purposes, by rising as ego, ajata is untrue. I mean, it is the ultimate truth, but you can't apply that truth to ego. Because ego when ego rises, everything rises. So it's, the ajata is the state of, well, it's not even to say it's the state of no arising. It is the truth in which there never was any rising. So it's people with half-baked understanding pick up little bits here and there and make a mishmash of them and get themselves into confusion. That's why Sadhguru often used to say, if you bring me a slate, which is a well-scribbled slate, and ask me to write Bhagavan's beautiful name on it, first thing I have to do is to wipe the slate clean. Because if I write Bhagavan's name over the pre-existing scribbling, it just becomes another scribbling. Wow. The beauty of his name cannot be seen. So first we have to wipe the slate of our mind clean, give up all our preconceived ideas, then only Bhagavan's teachings will make a real impression upon us. Most of the confusion arises when people have failed to wipe the slate clean, and therefore they're trying to understand Bhagavan's teaching through the perspective of their already preconceived ideas. The other question that I mentioned, I said there were two questions I recorded. The other question was from someone who said he had just come across an explanation of ego which made a lot of sense to him. And the explanation is that when ego projects everything, it then experiences itself through all the different individuals in its projection, which is something so many people are saying this nowadays.
That's weird.
But I say this is, firstly, there's no basis for this in Bhagavan's teachings. It's contrary to Bhagavan's teaching. It's also contrary to our experience, because what is ego? We are ego. So is it, I mean, firstly, we don't experience ourselves. We experience ourselves as one body, and we experience the world from the perspective of this one body. It's not even conceivable that we could simultaneously experience ourselves as many bodies and be seeing the world from many perspectives. I mean, can you even conceive that? Even from two perspectives, you cannot. It's impossible.
Actually, Ramana talked about that in relation to relativity theory with Einstein. He said that something about two perspectives.
Yeah. When someone asked Bhagavan about that, and Bhagavan said, well, the assumption is there are two observers. That itself has to be questioned.
Wow. The other day I was talking with Sandra about Barclays Theory, that the world exists because a mind is perceiving it. Well, how is what's behind me being perceived right now, or when we're not there? It's because God is watching it. What do you think about Barclays Theory?
Well, this again is it's mixing up different things, because he's a bishop, he's a committed Christian. He has to reconcile. I mean, there are good points in his philosophy, but basically we've got no evidence that anything exists independent of our perception of it. But because he has to fit God in, it becomes a confusion again.
Just like with Descartes,
yeah.
I can question
because
everything.
Even the God who is supposedly seeing the tree falling down in the forest when no one else is present, even that God exists in whose view? In our view.
I was going to ask you about a Zen koan. If a tree falls in the woods and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound?
It makes a sound in your mind.
Yeah.
Because it's just an idea. The idea that a tree could fall in the wood when no one is aware of it. It's impossible even to conceive something in which that is the general belief nowadays is that this universe was created from a Big Bang somewhere, and only after many millions of years or billions of years or whatever, slowly life evolved, and then sentient creatures became evolved, and then it became known. But the very idea of a Big Bang and this unknown, this universe in which there's no sentience, is itself possible only in the mind. In fact, existence without awareness really makes no sense at all. Because, it's...
What about like a plant? Like they presumably don't have, or some creatures don't have, some life forms don't have sentience necessarily, or consciousness, but they are alive.
Is any animal or plant conscious?
I don't know.
Okay, is this body conscious?
No.
Jada.
Hmm?
The body is Jada.
The body is Jada, exactly. So, but what is conscious is not anything. It is ego, but is conscious. I mean, no object is conscious. All objects are Jada. There's one subject. That one subject is the only sentient thing. But because the subject identifies itself with an object, namely a body, the body seems to be conscious. And then when we see so many other bodies, all those other bodies seem to be just as conscious as this body is. But actually no body is conscious.
But then what is the ethical justification for not harming animals? If they're not conscious, why do we choose ahimsa, not harming animals?
Just like this, in your view, this body is sentient, isn't it? No? Really? Are you not aware of yourself as I am this body? Oh, well. From where are you now?
Here.
Here means where the body is. It's only from the perspective of the body that you're seeing all this.
That's true.
So we are all aware of ourselves as I am this body.
Yes, that's true.
So that's a fundamental confusion. So long as we are aware of ourselves as I am this body, what you're actually aware is only I am. But because the body seems to be I, the body seems to be aware, and because this body seems to be aware, every other body seems to be aware.
Yeah.
So we are morally bound to treat all other bodies with the same concern and respect and consideration that we treat this body.
Could you also say, because in the end nothing is, it's all ourself,
Yeah,
oneself?
it is all ourself, but
Yeah.
even on a more mundane level where we see multiplicity, so long as we rise as ego is actually only one. But in the view of ego, that one ego, there are many egos.
Yeah.
So we have to treat all other creatures with the same regard we treat this person that we take ourselves to be. And ultimately, yes, everything is oneself.
Yeah.
So love your neighbor as yourself is loving oneself, basically. Loving I am, being I am.
You cannot love your neighbor as yourself so long as you see your neighbor as other than yourself. So long as you see yourself as I am this body, your neighbor is someone other than you. So your love for yourself will always be more than your love for your neighbor. So loving your neighbor as yourself is possible only when you remove that limitation. I am this body. Then there's no other, and then only are you truly loving as yourself. You're loving the other as yourself because there is no other. There is only yourself.
One time I asked you about what Jesus meant by every hair on your head is counted. Can you explain that?
I can't. In what context did he say that?
He was saying that God's omniscience. God knows everything. A bird falls, or he knows, and every hair on your
Yeah, the omniscience of God. Yes, God knows everything, because God knows the only thing, which is Himself. There's some verses in Guru Vacha Kukubai in which Bhagavan talks about omniscience, Sarvajñatvam. it is, in our view, God knows everything.
Right.
But actually, the truth is, yes, in a sense, God does know everything, but he doesn't know everything as everything. He knows everything as the only thing, namely himself.
You say that we don't need guru in person, but I think it's nicer to meet you in person than through the camera.
But I'm not guru.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's someone who's explaining guru's teachings.
Yeah.
I have a sincere question.
Can you hold it though, please?
Yeah? Oh, you want me to do
No, just you could film him. I just need to move. Yeah, go for it. Ask a question.
Oh, do I need to do it? Okay.
Yes, please.
I had a talk with a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago, and she is interested in Bhagavan. But then she asked me a question which I found very interesting, but I didn't have an answer because my answer was, it's rather obvious. Her question was, how do you know for absolutely true that what Bhagavan is telling is the ultimate truth? Because there are more teachers out there who are saying they are having the ultimate truth, but what they are saying is different than what Bhagavan is saying. And for me it was, it's just true. But I couldn't make any argument. I couldn't explain to her why it was the truth. And maybe it's not even in my place to explain it to her. But I thought it was interesting to ask you that.
Yeah, it's a reasonable question to ask, but somehow we have recognized the truth in Bhagavan's teachings. That is, ultimately, it's by grace.
Yeah.
It is grace that has given us the clarity to recognize that. Yeah. So many people recognize truth in, there's so many different philosophies, so many different religions, so many different, for a follower of any religion, they have recognized truth in their particular set of beliefs. But it's according to why some people are why different people are attracted to different spiritual paths, different philosophies, different beliefs, and everything. It's all according to the degree of purity. So, but then it's if we say that to others, it can sound egotistical.
Yeah, or arrogant.
Because I'm pure, I was able to recognize.
Yeah.
So, but that is the truth. But that clarity is not the clarity of ego. That clarity is coming from grace. That clarity is coming from within, in other words. So, the more we follow Bhagavan's teachings, the clearer it becomes to us the truth of what he is saying.
Yeah.
But if someone is not convinced, we can't. No amount of logical argument is going to convince someone who is not willing to be convinced, who is not able to see it. Things that to us seem so clear don't seem so clear to other people.
Yeah. So perhaps I could have suggested maybe you could read a little bit more of Bhagavan's teachings, and his grace could help you understand it better.
Yeah. And you can also point out one thing Bhagavan often used to say is, do not believe what you do not know. So Bhagavan isn't asking us to accept all these things. He's not asking for blind faith or anything.
No, look at your own experience.
Yeah. Look at your own experience. The more we look within, the clearer it will become to us the truth in what Bhagavan is saying.
Yeah.